Test of the City of Palatka audio system.
With a mic on helps. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Palatka City Commission meeting on January 12th, 2023. We're going to have an invocation by Pastor Mulberry. If we could all please stand, and then a pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Boren.
Father, we thank you once again for your loving kindness and for your tender mercy. God, we thank you for this gathering. We thank you for your people. Thank you for the leadership that you provided up to this point, God. We pray that thou would bless and crown heads with wisdom and understanding for the furtherance of the leading of the city. We pray, God, that your hand of grace and mercy will rest upon your people, and that you will lead, guide, and direct. God, give them what to do and how to do, what to say and how to say. Let there be a peaceable unity among thy people. And we pray, God, that your hand will rest upon us even heavier and hold us to where you would have us to be, God. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank God. Amen and amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Krantz, roll call, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Commissioner Tammy McCaskill. Here. Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Mayor Correa.
Present.
All members present and accounted for. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of minutes for December 8th, 2022 workshop.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Motion by Commissioner Campbell, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McCaskill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Motion passes unanimously. Approval for minutes, December 8th, 2022 meeting. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Campbell,
Second.
second, Commissioner Borum. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Motion approves unanimously. Public recognition presentations, proclamation, Human Trafficking Prevention Month, January 2022, Wear Blue, CDS Family and Behavioral Health Services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas nearly a century and a half ago, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a document that reaffirmed the noble goals of equality and freedom for all that lie at the heart of what it means to live in America. In the years since, we have tirelessly pursued the realization and protection of these essential principles. And whereas despite our successes, thousands of individuals living in the United States and still more abroad suffer in silence under the intolerable yoke of modern slavery. During Human Trafficking Prevention Month, we stand with all those who are held in compelled service. We recognize the people, organizations, and government entities that are working to combat human trafficking, and we recommit to bringing an end to this inexcusable human rights abuse. And whereas human trafficking is a $32 billion per year global criminal enterprise and is a crime as well as a civil and human rights violation, an estimated 25 million people are currently victims of human trafficking for both sex and labor. And whereas human trafficking endangers the lives of millions of people around the world, and it is a crime that knows no borders. Human trafficking is a form of modern day slavery, be it for commercialized sexual or labor exploitation. This otherwise multi-layered crime does not have a static profile. It affects children, adults, U.S. citizens, residents, and foreign nationals alike. And whereas this month we do not simply reflect on this appalling reality, we also pledge to do all in our power to end this horrific practice of human trafficking that plagues victims around the world and in our neighborhoods. And whereas human trafficking awareness is observed to educate the public and raise awareness about human trafficking, and the city of Palatka has a strong commitment to social justice. Now, therefore, I, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor of the City of Palatka, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby endorse and proclaim the month of January 2023 as Human Trafficking Month, Prevention Month, in the City of Palatka, and urge all citizens to educate themselves about all forms of modern slavery and the signs and consequences of human trafficking. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the official seal of the City of Palatka this 12th day of January in the year of our Lord 2023.
So moved. Second. Who gave the second? I'm sorry. Okay, second. Commissioner. All in favor? Any opposition? Motion passed unanimously on the proclamation. Is there a representative?
I'd like to give my thanks again to the city for committing to help spread awareness and let everyone know about this horrific problem that we have. I guess most people don't even realize that we have such a problem even here in Putnam County, but we do. It's a problem everywhere, and it definitely, we just need to make sure people understand that this is happening and learn the signs and learn what to do to prevent it. So thank you again for giving the proclamation and for planning this month, Human Trafficking Prevention Month. We're blue. And we're blue, yes. I'm very sorry. I'm Marianne Potter. I'm the Outreach and Safe Place Specialist for CDS Family and Behavioral Family Services. And we work with your shelter for runaways, truants, homeless youth, and trafficked youth, and ungovernable children. And I apologize for that.
Proclamation Martin Luther King Day, Martin Luther Jr. King Day, I'm sorry, January 16th, 2022, African American Cultural Arts Council of Putnam County.
Whereas the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union through his teachings, which continue to guide and inspire us. And whereas Dr. King advanced the cause of civil rights throughout the South in spite of the dangers associated with his work, locally, while taking part in the St. Augustine Civil Rights Movement, Dr. King was arrested on June 11th, 1964, on the steps of the Monson Motel restaurant. His famous letter from the St. Augustine jail to his friend Rabbi Israel Dressner, urging him to recruit rabbis to come to St. Augustine, resulted in the largest mass arrest of rabbis in American history on June 18th, 1964 at the Monson Motel. And whereas Dr. King once said, quote, "We have an opportunity to make America a better nation. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land," unquote. Though we have made great strides since the turbulent era of the civil rights movement, Dr. King's work and journey remain unfinished. And whereas we recognize that our nation has yet to reach Dr. King's promised land, this is not an admission of defeat, but a call to action during these challenging times. And whereas by making our communities better with increased opportunity for all, and by breaking the cycle of poverty and reinvesting in our schools, we carry on Dr. King's work and unlock our children's potential, which is our strongest weapon against injustice and inequality. Now, therefore, I, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor of the City of Palatka, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do proclaim January 16th, 2023 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, in commemoration of the civil rights leader who dedicated his life to others. And we call upon our citizens to ask ourselves what Dr. King believed to be life's most urgent and persistent question. What are you doing for others? By lifting up our brothers and sisters through dedication and service, we honor Dr. King's memory and reaffirm our common humanity. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the official seal of the City of Palatka this 12th day of January in the year of our Lord 2023.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Proclamation approved unanimously. Commissioner Campbell? Do you want to present this? Accept it, you don't want to present? I thought you were.
Justin Campbell, City Commissioner. About 9 years ago, I actually stood up here. I was pulled by our very own at that time, Vice Mayor Brown, to accept this proclamation. Then I accepted the proclamation as a young boy returning home after being away for 10 years. But today I stand and proudly accept this proclamation, not only as City Commissioner, but the President of the organization, African American Cultural Arts. And we are eternally grateful for the city of Palatka to always recognize Martin Luther King and the work that he has done. And we, as citizens of Palatka, Putnam County, we still have a duty to carry out what it is that he worked so hard. We're making strides, but we're not there yet. So it takes each and every one of us sitting in this room to realize and recognize the work that he has done, the work that still has to be done so that we can be that great nation. Thank you on behalf of the African American Cultural Arts. This upcoming weekend, we have a brunch, MLK brunch. Generally, we would have a MLK breakfast, but we transitioned it a little bit this year to give people a little more time to get there. It's going to be at the Calvary Life Center starting at 10 p.m. Tickets are $25. If you are interested, just let me know. And on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, we have a legacy walk that will start at 10:45. We will be marching from 3rd Street to down St. John's Avenue. Generally, we would do a parade. However, with the construction, we are going to walk those paved roads. So we ask that you, if you want to join us, we ask that you gather there at 10:30. The walk will begin at approximately 10:45 after we start off with prayer. And then from 11 to 4, we will have our festival where we have food trucks, various vendors, and live entertainment. We hope to see you there. Again, thank you so much.
Commissioner Campbell, you might want to make one correction. I think you said PM on the first thing. So just make whatever.
I do apologize. It's the breakfast. It's at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And if you come at PM,
You're too late.
Proclamation Arbor Day, January 20th, 2023, City Tree Committee.
Thank you. Whereas Arbor Day is observed throughout the nation and the world in recognition of the many benefits of trees. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Palatka has proudly been recognized by the Arbor Day Foundation as a Tree City USA for the past 31 years. Now therefore, I, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor of the city of Palatka, together with the members of the Palatka City Commission, do hereby proclaim January 20th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the city of Palatka. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day by supporting efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Proclamation unanimously approved. Is there a representative from the tree committee or somebody here for Arbor Day?
Madam Mayor, both Del McMillan and Lisa Walsh have contributed to the efforts of planning the Arbor Day celebration. And Mr. Kensner, who's in the audience, will be there giving a speech on the Arbor Day celebration as a member of the Palatka Garden Club.
All that said, who wants to accept the proclamation?
My name is Palmer Kinzer. Well, it's been going on a long time. It's kind of surprising how long ago this tradition started and the recognition of just how much value trees have to our environment, to our lives, really. I mean, we have this relationship with trees. They give us, they're among those things, the plants in general, that give us our oxygen, and they like us to hang around with them and give them some carbon dioxide back. So there's a balance that forms there. And it's one of those things that you can appreciate when you think about it. And there's much else, but I'm saving a lot. I'm going to save it for the Arbor Day at the college and get into the details. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to open the floor up to public comments. They will be limited to 3 minutes and no action will be taken on these items. Is anybody here for public comments? Yeah, the cards first. Okay. Thank you. Please fill out a yellow card if you haven't already and would like to make a public comment. Mr. McLean?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to ask if Chief Straw could join me up here, please. So Wayne McLean, 285 West River Road. Here tonight, speaking on behalf of, up behind me. Speaking on behalf of Beck Automotive. And I wrote a letter to City Manager Don Holmes. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes, I'll be under my 3 minutes and read it if I could. Dated December 23rd, Don Holmes, City Manager. Dear Don, recently the Beck Automotive Group had a vehicle stolen from one of its dealerships. From the moment the incident occurred to the recovery of the vehicle and the arrest of the juveniles involved, the City of Palatka Police Department were totally involved and professional in their actions. I specifically want to commend the following officers and their thoroughness, professionalism, as well as their follow through on the incidents with me. To say the officers were diligent and persistent in the recovery and capture of the individuals involved is an understatement. The officers are Officer Garbliardo and Officer Kruger. I'm going to ask the commissioner to start hiring Jones Smith if they would, please, on the police department. I also want to commend Captain Matt Newcomb for his follow-up and making sure professional service is provided by the Palatka Police Department. Sincerely, Wayne McLean, Vice President, Beck Automotive Group. Additional comment on that, Mayor, if I may, and commissioners. It was refreshing to see the diligence about these officers and the department in general, and also the way they worked with the county officers. So it's very much appreciated. And I can definitely see the customer service end of it. So I want to just take a moment to say, Chief, thank you so much. And Don Holmes, thank you so much. And Commissioners and Mayor, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLean, for acknowledging and recognizing police chief and police force. They are a value to us, obviously, and I think they get a lot more negativity sometimes, and it's good to hear something positive. Paul McKinzer.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm Palmer Kinzer, and I've been working this past year with Shan Purrington to coordinate the activities of our staff and volunteers at the Waterworks Environmental Education Center. A number of our volunteers and supporters are here today, and I think some of them wear blue shirts. The center was established to provide environmental education with a focus on water and the St. Johns River. and to be a cultural and natural history museum and a trail center with connection to the state trail system. It's a place for nature-based learning and peaceful reflection. We are open every Wednesday from 8:30 until 12:30 and from 1 until 4 p.m. on the first Sunday of each month. I want to thank the city and also, and in particular, Courtney James, Eddie Petteright, and Jonathan Griffin, excuse me, for supporting our efforts. This past year, we've had over 1,000 visitors, including many classrooms of children. We typically have 6 to 8 volunteers every week, but we have others that we can draw on for special events. During the past year, our volunteers have contributed at least 1,500 person hours to the center. And finally, we wish to thank you for supporting the nomination of the Waterworks for the National Register of Historic Places. Next week, our nomination will be considered by the Division of Historical Resources in Tallahassee before being forwarded to the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. for final approval. We look forward to working with the city over the next year as we continue our mission. And we invite all of you of the commission and anybody else in this room and our new mayor, of course, to come by and visit when you have an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vito Russo. Please give your name and address.
Hi, this is Vito Russo of the 415 Emmett Street. First of all, I want to congratulate Madam Mayor for becoming the first female mayor of historic Palatka. That's a wonderful thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are a proven community leader, and you're going to be doing some good works in this community. I'm very confident of that. One of the positive changes that we would like to see is a change in culture of City Hall and its staff. As Commissioner Bora mentioned Monday night, we need to work together in order to contribute to the community's image, revitalization, et cetera. And we're trying to give to this community, and the city staff is not helpful. They throw up obstacles rather than facilitating our efforts. A prime example is the music festival. We need access to Hammock Hall, get our tables and chairs out of there. Well, I have to get a city commissioner to intervene on our behalf in order to get access to Hammock Hall. Once we get in there, we find our tables are missing. We ask the city to where they are. We were told the city didn't take them, which not true. They did take them because they're at Price Martin. They were used on Monday night. So, you know, another example of how city staff is not facilitating our efforts is the grant. The small grant that we get from the city for the music festival, we have to submit $10,000, at least $10,000 worth of expenses in order to receive the grant, because it can't be more than 25%. So last year, it took 6 months last year to get our grant. One of the steps that we had to do is we had to submit that $10,000. Well, we submitted $12,000. So we had $2,000 buffer. They won't cut us the check because there's one $500 check with which they thought was not legible. So it's just one small little obstacle after another. They're not facilitating our efforts. They're just throwing up obstacles. A major problem, I think, with the city is that they do not communicate very well with stakeholders. Another prime example is Southside Stormwater Sewer Project. I mean, we're not asked about do we need it, but they put it in there. So we're not privy to the design and then the subsequent design change. So it went from a solid pipe to a single outfall through a bioactive media structure. It went to an exfiltration system. Well, if we would have known about this, we could have told them that an exfiltration system is not appropriate for a neighborhood adjacent to the river. Because as the river gets towards, as the groundwater moves towards the river, the land surface and the groundwater meet. So the system doesn't work. So you've got $800,000 project over there that is a boondoggle. It doesn't work unless you want to breed mosquitoes because the pipes are full of water, or not full of water, but every junction has water, standing water in it. So the fact that we're not, the lack of communication, another example is the current paper project on River Street, on St. John's Avenue. So,
And keep it to 3 minutes,
So-
Mr. Russo.
okay, so my time is limited. So let me leave you with this. Any organization, whether it's City Hall or a Little League baseball team, the culture is top down. The new city manager needs to be like the new mayor. And the new city manager needs to choose who they want to be the assistant city manager. That person needs to give them their best chance of being successful. So it shouldn't be just given. It should be open for candidates to apply for, and those candidates need to be interviewed.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Linda Kreider. Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Linda Kreider. I live at 112 Hiawatha Court in East Palatka. It's a pleasure to follow Vito. Because hopefully my comments won't be denigrating towards city staff, who I think does the best job they can, because they're inundated with so many projects as this city grows and becomes what it's becoming, which is something wonderful to see, and I'm glad to be a part of it. One of the things, however, that I told our new mayor, Korea, I would show up every single city commission meeting and be the thorn in the side until we accomplished it. And that is for the underpass boardwalk. That seems like a simple project, but it has been closed since May of last year, which is 9 months. And that is a corridor that is very important in terms of being a part of the whole trail system. The $1 million project we did over the Memorial Bridge, which brings bicyclists, pedestrians across quite often every single day. People from St. Augustine come, and the connection to the downtown and the riverfront and Ravine Gardens is now severed by the fact that that is closed. We did talk today at the Waterways and Trails Committee meeting, and I talked with Jonathan, and I'll hold the rest of my comments until January 26th meeting, when there will be a full report to you about the different options that are going to be looked at and the various costs. But I know that there is a great deal of interest beyond just being a small community project. I've been talking with the University of Florida Assistant Dean for Design, Construction, and Planning, and seeing the opportunity that could happen with a pedestrian bridge that could really become an icon for the city. It's hard to look at it now and think of it that way. But if you look at places like Greenville, South Carolina, and many other places throughout this country and the world where pedestrian bridges are in fact looked at, they're lit, they're designed, they're gorgeous pieces of architecture for a city. And so rather than turning our nose and face away from that project, I'd like to see it embraced. And I appreciate the city, I appreciate Jonathan and Mandy's work on this, and I, as a citizen, am willing to continue to work on it myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Kreider. Mr. Best.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zinni Best. I live in Interlachen, Florida, and I come here to pay my respects to all of our new mayor and all the city council. And I'm here to ask again, we need help with the mental health services in our community. The services that are other places in the country and other places in Florida have so much more than we have. I'm not gonna focus on one issue. I'm just gonna say the overall picture. We are being left behind with the mental health issue in our county here. Every one of us, sooner or later, God bless you, we will be affected by this illness. Now, as far as we are concerned as members and partners and people in our county here, we must take care of each other. People come out of jail, people are in mental health hospitals, people who live on the street. For whatever the reason is, there is something wrong. Like I tell most people, if you live outside 2 weeks, there's with no kind of shelter, something wrong with that generation. If you can do that and get away with it, you are not sane. We need support from council here and you, Mr. Mayor. Please help us get to where we need to be as far as the services like we need here in our county. International clubhouses, number one right at the top of my head. We have a drop-in center. Drop-in center started 10 years ago in all countries, in all the states in America. But we started with international clubhouse, which means if you wake up in China, or if you have any other issues, like housing, doctor, place to go. This is what a mental health clubhouse, international clubhouse does. If you wake up in China, they won't ask you, do you want to go home? But if you say, I want to go back to America in all 50 states, it will get you back home. That's the kind of support a mental health agency like the International Clubhouse has. We don't have one here. We had one, we had a person that could educationally hold the position as the director of the International Clubhouse. We started the clubhouse issue. We got the building, everything. He died 2 weeks before the building, before we opened up. And then Stuart Martin scooped it up. Now Stuart Martin is the hospital. Stuart Martin does things Stuart Martin's way and no other way. This is why I can't walk through the door today. Because if you do things wrong, if I see I bump my head or we're bumping our head somewhere, I will say something. I know pretty much how and what we need, which is support, housing, clothing, food. These other counties in our country have this, but we don't. So I'm here again. I'm gonna start coming to every meeting again. You're gonna hear this over and over, and I hope you get tired of seeing it. But this is a very critical issue. Everyone who's some time in their lifetime or generations to come behind you will suffer from mental health. So let's do our job and take care of ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Anybody else for public comments? That said, public comments are closed. Moving on to the consent agenda. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the consent agenda? Chairman Khan, I'm sorry, what?
I'd like a couple items pulled for discussion.
Okay,
A few.
which were the, which ones, please?
Item E. Item F. Item N. And that's it on it.
Anyone else?
E, F, and N.
E, F, H.
H as well?
But I'm sorry, I didn't say anything. E, F, N. That's it.
That was it, yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of items E, F, and N.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, okay, we'll move on to those items. Item E. Adopt resolution 2023 R05 toward RFQ 2022-20 grant writing administrative service as a general pool and shortlist by knowledge and experience for specific agencies. Ms. Gano?
Hello, I'm Marcia Gano, project manager. So we went through the process on the grant writing and administration. We interviewed 11 companies that responded. We went through our committee evaluation and we invited all 11 to come in for presentations. I think all but one participated in that. So it was a very, very extensive review process. I think that we all learned a lot, really appreciated what they brought to the table. We awarded 5 companies. You see them there in the general pool, and then we broke them down by categories, specifically according to their expertise in areas according to the grant categories.
So the 5 selected are the Hanson Group. Tell me.
Yeah, there were 5 that are in the general pool. And then in addition to that, we broke those down according to their expertise associated with grant categories.
Yeah, that sheet.
That is in the packet.
That ain't not my packet. Okay, I'm sorry.
So we kind of, we listed all the general categories of grants that we have a lot of activity with. We identified the ones that have significant expertise in those areas. And that's why you see like FDOT was Hanson, and then North Florida Professional Services. We felt like they were the best in show in terms of their experience with specifically FDOT grants.
So, and I look at the score sheet that you guys use, and quite frankly, I don't see a criteria that it was scored by. I see the scores, but do you have that kind of information?
Don't have it in front of me. I don't know if you have it. Price was not the criteria that we scored on, because what we did this created a short list of companies that we're pre-approving to reach out to, and then whenever we have a grant opportunity, we'll have them provide their specific response for that that opportunity. So there wasn't a scoring criteria for sure.
It wasn't?
Well, if you look here on page 1 in the back here,
What do you see?
you see that?
So scored on what though? That's the question.
Right, but I'm just saying they just,
Do
Yes,
do
sir.
you see based on what? How they arrived at that score?
You would think after I sat through 11 of these, I would remember exactly what we scored them on. Yeah, you have to go into one of the individual tabs. And if you go to the top, you can see that across the top.
And I'll tell you some more questions on it. Well, if I can read, if I know, I'll probably be able to, you could answer it by this ledger here.
So demonstrated knowledge, demonstrated proficiency, experience writing and managing the grants, and number and quality of local government reference letters provided.
So with us being stretched in on administrators, excuse me, to administer these grants, have we've talked before, wouldn't it be beneficial for us to have the pool to be larger so that we could actually have other entities to look or seek for grants that we want out there? And we'll have that extra help.
I think this provides a significant amount of extra help. And we are all really looking forward to engaging with this. I think, that there are opportunities that we've missed by, just bandwidth or not being able to respond. I think that, I feel like the ones that we selected on the short list were the right ones. They all brought something to the table. They had significant experience in Florida. They recognized Palatka. I mean, for one company that we did not pick was Jetco out of Minnesota. They did a lot of grants around government agencies, and they had no experience in Florida. We did not feel like that was the type of company that was most beneficial for us at this stage to get involved with. So we wanted to have a short list that was effective, that we could really reach out, and we felt like these were the ones that are ready and have the capabilities of helping without, and really bringing a lot of experience and learning curve to the table.
Right. I request that next time that something goes out and come back, and we get these packets to like consent them, I would like to have this, because that's important, so that I can look at how they were scored and based upon what. Secondly, did we vet or give any preference to any minorities in this process? That, for government contracts, because they're gonna be contract, right? Contracted. I mean, in the scoring matrix is what I'm asking.
There was not anything in the scoring matrix to give preference to minority-owned business enterprises. So that is what you see right there. That is the score. But I did want to add, Commissioner Jonathan Griffith, that this is just a recommendation from your staff. You have the ranking criteria. You have the ranking here. You could approve this. You could even increase the general pool if you wanted, and you could grab the next two candidates if you wanted the city to have more consultants to select from in the future. Again, this is just a recommendation from your staff.
Perhaps you could explain, Jonathan, the mechanics of how the pool would work. I know that you and Marcia Ms. Gano have an idea of how you anticipate it would work, but explain to us in a given scenario how a firm from the pool would be selected in a given grant administration setting.
And so the reason for the different categories of the agencies is to acknowledge the different consultants' experience and success with writing and receiving grants. So we have a general pool for those agencies that we haven't or are unable to identify or just haven't worked with extensively in the past. You know, things like the National Endowment for the Arts or other agencies at a federal level typically. And we would go to number one and we would ask for a scope and fee to write that grant or to administer that grant. We would review that. If it didn't meet our expectations or it didn't meet our budget, we would just move on to number two and so on. But to kind of, as Ms. Gano referred to, maybe increase our bandwidth and scale and have some flexibility in how we go after these grants and how many we can administer into the future, because we are truly kind of swamped with what we have. It's a good problem to have. We need to have all these resources on tap.
I'm actually talking about getting more, including more, because of what you're saying, the bandwidth. Because I keep hearing we don't have enough bandwidth to administer the grants that they're out there. The money's out there, but to go get them. And like North Florida Professional Services, I didn't ask about the minorities, but I didn't ask about local, close proximity. Where's North Florida Professional Services? Where are they located? North Florida, Jacksonville?
Lake City.
Lake City?
Thank you, Ms. Tucker.
Yes.
Where are they from?
Lake City. Apparently.
And but I want to definitely bring it up, and I would like permission to consider increasing that pool. I don't know, to 7, to 9, 10, or whatever, but I would like to.
I mean,
Yes,
my question would be, you want to take it in consideration, but who do you want it to increase to? I mean, because if we put it in staff's hands to bring us back the best, why would we want to increase? We've been in positions like that before, and we've actually ended up with a short end of the stick by doing that, by going against the will of staff. So my question would be, who would you want to be added specifically if they are not on that short list?
Well, you're not going against staff. Staff bring back recommendations.
I'm asking a general question.
Or
But-
Jones, do you?
Okay,
want the
1 minute,
pool
please.
increase,
One at
or
a
do you
time.
want the criteria increase? You know what I mean? I think that's.
Right, I'm not saying an individual. I
Yeah,
don't
you
have
want-
an individual in
You
mind.
want to expand the criteria, like.
He's not saying, he just want the
The
pool.
Larger
increased.
pool of
So what is the pool
possibilities.
As
That makes
opposed to
sense.
5, you know.
So I may just want to add Jonathan's comment.
Yeah, so if that is something you're considering, you can kind of see. That's not the same.
Is it a significant drop off from the number 5 person to the number 7?
That's what I was gonna say. I would not go past the 7th person, because if you look, they interviewed, they had a panel. These packets were not thin. There was a lot of reading and a lot of research that went into this. If you go past 7, those respondents didn't rank higher than 50 out of 100 points. I don't think that those were strong candidates, but If you did want to add two more to the general pool, you do have Langston Consulting, which ranked 7167 as the total score. And you had Affinity Consulting Group, which is 80.67. That would be your 6-7.
Well, I would like for the board to consider it, you know, two more people to be in that pool. That's more opportunities for us to secure the fund. That's how I look at it. I think that. You know.
Does anybody else have a thought on that?
Well, my only comment would be, you know, if based on a particular score, I mean, if you're getting to a point to where, if the score is not, you're not comfortable with the score, or the score would put the lack of quality of work or lack of experience or whatever it may be. I mean, those would be some concerns or whatever that I may have.
It's only a pool. You don't have to go that far, but we wouldn't have to go out and do this
No,
again.
I'm just saying, you know, based on the numbers, I'm not talking about, but if
That's
we
why.
if we can increase the pool with the strength in there, if they're all strong contractors or whoever can handle the project, yes, absolutely.
So
Increase the pool.
in summary, you're just saying more on the pool is fine as long as they meet the quality standard that staff is comfortable with in terms of reviewing and
It should be a minimum
ranking.
or whatever to be comfortable with moving forward with, as opposed to just having a bigger pool and they can't meet the quality and
But
carry
that-
out the work.
At this point, it's not clearly defined.
Comfortable with
Yeah.
what the pool that they currently have, so that's what I'm comfortable with
Well,
right now.
I'm
not
comfortable with it.
And I think with your comment, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but you, in your statement, you brought up a few different things. And you brought up the giving preference or giving whatever to, so are those things, while we're in the process of making change, is that something that you would like to be considered as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think that is. I mean, what you have to do sometimes to attract talent, those are some things that need to be taken into consideration as well.
But I just want to make it clear, because you asked for us
These
to
are government
consider
contracts, so
expanding the pool, not bringing those criteria as a part of it.
At this point, that's not what I'm asking. I just asked, was that into consideration when I want to look at the scoring matrix? I want to know.
Okay,
Pardon?
You said the pool, not the criteria. That's the question I asked. You want to just expand the pool, right?
that is my understanding. You would like the pool to be
Expand the
larger.
pool.
Yes. I asked the question specifically about were they given a preference or any additional consideration? But my general question is expanding that pool so that we have those resources readily available. If there's a problem with it, I just want to know what would be the problem.
Okay,
And as they just said, it's not a problem. So now I'm asking the commission, would we be okay with going with that, expanding that pool? So that we would have the resources.
I'm opposed to expanding that staff.
okay.
That's the area of expertise. It's just my comment.
Mhm.
I'm just one voice up here.
Is that the way the board feels?
How would we like to proceed then? Do we have a motion to?
Madam
approve?
Mayor, may I read the caption?
Sure.
Resolution 2023 R05, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka awarding 2022-20 grant writing administrative services to Hanson Professional Services, Fred Fox Enterprises, Harris Associates, North Florida Professional Services, Inc., and Terracon as the 5 most qualified firms for continuing services, grant writing, general pool, and shortlisted by knowledge and experience for specific agencies providing for Scrivener's errors.
So move.
Second,
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, no, I wasn't giving a second. I was asking. for a second. Okay.
I got a second.
Any opposition?
No, I don't oppose.
Okay, motion approved unanimously. We will now go to item F. Is that Mr. Griffith or Mr. Gano again? Mr. Gano or Mr. Griffith? Mr. Gano.
Factor into my here.
Okay,
So commissioners, you may recall, this is the downtown streetscape project, and you approved or authorized the original bid award with a significant reductive change order because we were under some time constraints to get a specific portion of that scope done to meet the grant requirements. And that was specifically installing the brick intersections. When we went to that effort of doing a deductive change order, we worked with the engineer of record and contractor, and we essentially drew some lines in the sand and said, what would it cost to do just this work right here at these different intersections? As you may know, it's not as easy as doing that in constructing things. So we got the project started, and now what we're going back to you for is, this is a clearer separation between phase 1 and phase 2. You may have seen some of the intersection work, and the elevation of the intersections for the overall project changes. So there's some transitions, and we had to expand how far we go back in the roadway, as well as in the sidewalk to meet ADA requirements and to accommodate for the second phase. I will add the comment that staff is of the opinion that we're probably going to come back before you on the 26th with a presentation as to why we should just go ahead and move forward on phase 2, even if it is significantly reduced. We're not seeing costs come down, and we're not seeing additional contractors bidding on our projects. So we believe we got a good contractor right now. We're already under construction. We think it's just for the better good of the public just to go ahead and get the project, at least the majority of the project, done, assuming that we can find and allocate the funding from other sources. So it is our intent to come before you on the 26th with that. But this specifically, this $410,000, which is primarily from Better Place, which is funding this, is the additional work necessary to complete phase 1 and to have a usable product in the interim, so that we're in compliance with ADA and the vehicles can still travel on St. John's Avenue safely.
So if I could add, there's 7 layers, I'm told, of asphalt on St. John's Avenue, because as time has gone by, instead of taking the grinding or taking the existing layer and then replacing it, they've just added layers. And so when the intersections were bricked or paved with pavers, and one example was the 5th Street intersection, you had a transition that was probably a full foot. I was walking around looking at the intersections Thursday, something like that. And they were about to open 5th Street the next day. And there was probably a full foot of vertical change between the paved asphalt and the brick. And it transitioned in the span of about 2 feet, meaning that if people would have driven down that road, you'd have had a huge valley for them to travel down, and then on the other side come back up, in addition to there being a pipe that was sticking up probably 5 inches into the intersection. But they had done what the project had spec'd. It would not have been something that would have been workable even until we could get back with the next phase and get the asphalt removed to bring that street down to the level that probably it should be. So Jonathan made contact with the contractor. They came on in, and if you go there now, I'm not telling you it's perfect, but they angled the transition so that it's not, and they cut the pipe and reset the pipe so that you didn't have a problem there that could have been, well, it would have, in my opinion, it would have been a bad look. I think it would have given the wrong impression to the public about what you're going to end up with, because a lot of people wouldn't have stopped to ask whether or not we were finished. They would have just looked at that and said, my goodness, they did all this and this is what they ended up with. And the one pipe that was sticking up would have been, in my opinion, absolutely dangerous. Motorcycle, even a car. So they came back in and did some work to smooth that out as a Band-Aid until we go to the next phase, which will be the resurfacing of the street. They also ran into issues that were unexpected with lines. The 7th Street was one. Well, I know Jonathan was there. I went down and listened to where they tried to create a remedy and a solution for a problem they discovered once they started digging, because as you know, folks, there's been a lot of work done on our streets and it's not mapped. A lot of it's not mapped. So when you dig someplace, sometimes you find what you think you're going to find, and sometimes you don't find what you think you're going to find. So they've been changing on the fly, and I don't profess to be the expert, but I've tried to go out and pay a little attention to what they were doing. And I think that what you see here is just the what's necessary to kind of get us tided over until we get to that next phase.
Thank you. Ms. Krantz?
A resolution authorizing execution of change order number 2 to CGC Inc. in the additive amount of $410,292.50 for the St. Johns Avenue Streetscape project, reflecting the addition of previously bid scope, most devices, utility allowance needed to maintain construction timeline and adherence to the grant completion deadlines, amending the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget and providing for scrivener's errors.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? It passed unanimously. N. Mr.
In his mind,
Holmes?
yes, I had brought forward my intention to nominate Mr. Griffith to the position of Assistant City Manager at a previous meeting, but it wasn't formally presented. And so I did not believe, even though we seem to have general approval of the thought, it was not formally approved. So in order to avoid any misunderstanding or any technical flaw in the process, I put it back on the calendar or on the agenda as a formal adoption of my recommendation. As I think I told you at that time, there's nothing in our charter or ordinance that specifies how this assistant city manager is hired. We do have a specific process for finance director, fire chief, police chief, which is a nomination by the city attorney, the city manager, and then confirmation by the commission. There's not any process for assistant city manager. So rather than assuming that it was a position that I could simply hire on my own, I chose to use the same process that you use for other of the significant department heads, which was nomination and confirmation by you. I've had 2.5, almost 2 years, 7 months or 8 months in the position of city manager to look at staff functioning. We've made some reorganizations. I don't have any problem in telling you right now, I believe your staff's functioning at a higher level than it has at any time that I've been associated with the city of Palatka. And Mr. Griffith's a big part of it. He has the historical knowledge of what you've got, both infrastructure and also employees. He has continued to pursue education, certificates and training in the administration side of governmental life and operations. And I know a lot of you know him from specific tasks and accomplishments he's had, for instance, in the field of public works. He was the public works director at the time. And then over into, you've watched him in the grant process, the grant administration, the grant selection, the seeking of the grants, where he and Mandy have, before the hiring of Ms. Gano, they were successful in getting a huge number of grants for the city and then basically administering them. But he's also got a really broad knowledge of our personnel, our salary and pay structure, and basically is, in my opinion, he's a piece of the puzzle at our staff that is integral to the staff continuing to function. So I have no qualms about nominating him to be the assistant city manager. And so that is my nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
A resolution of the city of Palatka, Florida, concurring with the city manager's appointment of Jonathan C. Griffith, city of Palatka, as assistant city manager, providing for scrivener's errors.
So moved.
Second.
I had questions.
Okay. Question.
Well,
Did you say you had a question?
You didn't ask me. a question.
Okay, I was going to do a question. All in favor?
No. We're on the question now. We're on the question, so it's open for discussion.
Okay, question.
And that, I understand what you're saying. I've had questions presented to me in reference to the appointment, and then when I saw it on the consent agenda, I wanted to address publicly so we'll know. That was a new position that was created, and the timeliness of it, with your recommendation, I just asked, you're about to leave, and then you recommend that we have an assistant city manager, almost what Mr. Vito said, place an assistant in to the position prior to us hiring a city manager. If there was a recommendation, why not for the city manager position itself? That's the first question.
Why not for Mr. Griffith to be the
Yes,
city manager?
yes.
He doesn't want the job. and part of I won't speak for him, but he doesn't want the job as city manager. He doesn't, I'll not speak for his reasons for not wanting it. He, wants to be in administration, and quite frankly, it only makes sense for him to be at a assistant city manager level if he's not going to be city manager, because of the role that he plays with all of the other department heads. If he were a general services director, he technically has no one that's in the vertical chain of command under him, other than, I don't know, even in general services, maybe it would be in grants or something, but he doesn't, for instance, he's not in the vertical chain at Public Works or in water or streets or in sanitation, whereas as assistant city manager, he is. He's in that vertical chain. So, you know, but if you ask why not city managers, because he doesn't want the job.
So what you just said could be corrected by org chart clarification, and you could have actually had those dotted lines there.
I don't understand what you're saying.
You say he basically don't have no direct reports, sound like what you're saying.
As general services director, right? I mean, he's basically acting as an assistant city manager, but we're calling him a general services director.
Right, so the org chart could have took care of that. Secondly, did that job needed to be advertised? Again, these are questions that's built up from
Fine.
constituents,
Sure.
and, you know, I
Absolutely.
already talked to Jonathan personally, but I did want to bring him forward.
Yeah, I think Ms. Jones answered that question at the last
Yes,
meeting.
I thought
She's here. Yeah, she's here. Regarding our policies and regarding personnel, but she can answer it for you again.
Ms. Jones?
Jones, HR. As our policy is written, if we have a qualified candidate for any position in that line, that candidate can be promoted. Not with advertisement, but we can do an in-house promotion for that candidate. That's the way our policy is currently written.
So your when was that policy written or amended? I'm just asking.
It hasn't been amended. That's the way it stands right now.
Are you asking for the date of when it was written
Is
itself?
that recent or it's already been?
It's always been on there. Yes.
So, because I couldn't answer these questions, I'm glad you were here so I could ask you. So the other part of that question was, so we create a job, we could create any position at the leisure of rather this board or the city manager, whoever she may be once they come in, they could do the same, once of the same. Is that the policy that was just created by you doing this? I'm just asking.
So,
So
sir, you did it. When you approved the classifications and the jobs some months ago, y'all created the position of assistant city manager. I didn't do it.
right, but it wasn't filled at
Wasn't
that
filled.
time. Now, and that's how I knew it was gonna come back that way, of something we did. And I want to clarify that we're talking about policy. I think the policy needed to be amended to the point where we have, because of the close proximity of you and Jonathan's working relationship, you may have not explored the possibility that we may have other candidates that may have some experiences or something that they could bring to the table as well that may be a viable candidate. And we do that by not opening up. It is apparently, it's your latitude as a city manager to do that. I just questioned the timing prior to you leaving and we get another city manager. Maybe the next city manager don't have that vision for him to have an assistant working directly up under him or her. Secondly, with the pay rank structure and the salary that goes along with it, it's going to create a huge gap or a demand for the next city manager, because we're going to now have to pay that much more for another city manager to come in, which might not be a bad thing, but we just created that. We created that. As you said, we over here created that by doing it. So
I don't know that you did. I don't think you did anything that was negative,
I said
wrong,
negative.
incorrect, or problematic in doing it. we're finding that even though we did a salary and compensation study a few months ago, the market has
Very
apparently
competitive.
changed. I'm sorry.
It's very competitive right
Right.
now.
For instance, finance director, who we had working at, I think, 79 or 80. We've had two that looked like they had qualifications to be finance director. One of them wouldn't come for anything under 125. And in looking at in asking Sonny with the clerks and Ms. Jones and sounding out other HR people, we may have a hard time finding a finance director at the 80 range, because it's just one of those jobs where, while we got 6 or 7 decent applications for city manager, and I don't know what they're going to want. Some of the numbers on there are probably going to scare you because of the job or the salaries that they're showing that they're making right now or that they last made. But we've got some for you to interview there. We've got some without the use of a headhunter or a talent finder, whatever you want to call it. We've got about 6 or 7, is that right? That we've reviewed. We've actually interviewed 3 of them on the phone to make sure they were real, and don't take the wrong way, but we had their paper qualifications, but we wanted to talk to them, Ms. Thomas, Jones, Mr. Griffith, myself, and they appear to be real. So I think you're going to have some pool to choose from on city manager. Right now, I don't on finance director, but your point is, yes, well taken. You know, we're the range on the assistant city manager, which was approved in the ranking that was approved by the city commission, does have a higher salary for Mr. Griffith, but you're going to gain the general services director salary back, which you don't need to hire now. I mean, there's not a need to have a general services director if you have an assistant city manager, so you're going to gain that money back. And then, so the incremental difference between what he's making now and what he's making as assistant city manager is not going to be that huge, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, but I do realize that salary goes upwards to $150,000. So if we hypothetically, he gets that top tier
In 9 years.
which, well, Mr. Griffith's already been here like 10.
No, we're slotting him at
At
we're
the
slotting
top.
him at a grade 2. So we're not slotting him up high into that range. We're slotting him at a grade 2,
What's that salary?
about a 112.
And the reason why
That's the proposal anyway.
Yeah. Just so that I would know, and I wouldn't
You
want,
bet.
well,
No,
I wouldn't want another city manager to go in, well, if the assistant is making this, I must have at least 180, 200,000. It could, I just don't want to turn into that. Those are my
Sure.
questions and concerns. The last one, and I realize is have to do with day-to-day operation, but overseeing and speaking with some staff, I had I wouldn't say I had a concern. I just want to make sure that employee morale wouldn't be an issue if others couldn't be considered for promotional opportunities. And we're doing away with the position that someone might have came and taken a job here at the city, eyeing that next position, Jonathan's vacant position, and then we take it away. So again, I appreciate you answering those
Absolutely.
questions, but those are some concerns. I think they're legitimate concerns
Absolutely.
to anybody in the workplace.
Happy for you to ask, and certainly happy to answer them.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
And can I say one more thing? So Jonathan, I won't say this on the record, I was not opposed of the promotion for you. But those concerns, I thought that we should have had it on the agenda to speak of it. So just to let you know, so I don't want you to go forward with any ill feeling. I didn't feel that you deserve it. Okay, Mr. Griffin, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you. Ms. Krantz?
We read the caption. There was a motion and a second on the floor. I don't believe
All
the
in-
floor has
all in
been
favor?
open to public comment though.
Yes, I do have a public comment card, I'm sorry. Illegal kitchens?
Illegal Kitchens, 1027 South Wilk Street, Palatka, Florida. I would just like to clear up a couple of things. In Putnam County, which I work for the property appraiser, anytime there's a job opening in Putnam County, the first people that can apply for it are the people that work for the county. It does not have to be advertised externally, it's advertised internally. As to Jonathan, I think this is the best time for him to be the assistant city manager, or anybody for that matter. With Mr. Holmes leaving in a few months, what better time to have somebody that can actually fill the position at least temporarily till we get a full-time city manager. Mr. Jonathan Griffin is very qualified. He knows the city very well. I highly recommend him, and I'm very pleased that Don Holmes has recommended him to be the assistant city manager. And I think this gives other staff hope that they also can transition based on criteria, ability, quality, and knowledge of a position. So I think this is a very good move. And as far as general, the staff goes, I have noticed since at least 2014 and 2015, from what I hear through the grapevine from staff and from outside citizens that aren't staff, there is a morale problem with city employees. There's a division in the city. Half of them support one thing, half of them support another. I don't think it's a major problem, but that happens anywhere. It happens in Putnam County. It happens in the tax collector's office. That's a normal thing when you have various people with various personalities working together. There's going to be some hard feelings and some conflicts and some jealousies and some rivalries. That's human nature. But I think Jonathan will do a good job. He's been doing the job, as Mr. Holmes said at the last meeting. So why not give him the title? And the city manager by the city charter has pretty large ability to do much of what he wants with the staff. The city manager runs the city for the city commission so that you all don't have to micromanage the various departments. And I support Jonathan in this position. I wish he would consider city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. You need to fill out a card and make. No, not for this particular topic. You have not. And make it brief, Mr. So please.
Vito Russo, 415 Emmett. My big concern is that the new city manager should choose whoever is going to be working very closely with them. I would think that any of us who would become the city manager would want to choose who their right-hand person is going to be. That to me would be building as much confidence as you can, getting as much synergy as you can produce, and give that new city manager the biggest chance to be successful. My main complaint with Mr. Griffith is a complete lack of dealing with stakeholders. There are a number of public work projects, and communicating with stakeholders is fundamental to the success of these projects. And a prime example is that stormwater sewer system on the south side. But another example is the South Tip program. We tried to reform it. We had a big neighborhood meeting. We tried to reform it. We come up to the CRA, make our coaching arguments. No action was taken. The very next CRA board meeting, staff comes up there and recommends to suspend the South Tip program in order to reform it. And we read about that in a newspaper the very next day. Now, don't you think that we should be privy to the staff wanting to reform it when we were just at the meeting, the previous CRA board meeting, trying to do just that, reform the program. So I work for the water district, and we have nothing but public work projects. And the process of, we have an issue. We come up with a solution, we come up with a vision. We bring that to all stakeholders. We reach out to all stakeholders. We get their feedback. We make some adjustments. We get their buy-in. We move forward together. That does not happen here. And that's what needs to change. I think Mr. Griffith can do that if he puts his mind to it, but I'm not sure if that's really something that he's interested in doing, because I haven't seen any of it. I mean, look at the current project now.
Finish up, Mr. Russo. Thank you.
All right.
I just got a quick comment on that, but in terms of the TIF program that was suspended, Mr. Griffith didn't do that on his own. That was the CRA board did that. And so, and it was communicated, and I don't know if you guys had a rep here, but I mean, I just want to clear that up.
Thank you.
And in terms of the culture and the it's been improved since Don been in the seat of city manager. The morale and everything else is going up. I mean, you can go back and look at some of the videos of the meetings. You can talk to just about anybody here. The city has been moving forward, and we just need to continue moving forward with the people who he's made a recommendation for. I trust his judgment. And Jonathan been with this city. He's been dedicated and committed to this city. Not only does he do his job, but he also, when storms happen, Jonathan is the guy who knows all of the ins and outs for emergency purposes and among everything else. So it would not be good to lose his institutional knowledge. And again, I want to, and so I support the statement about city manager.
That was just
Thank
overall
you.
disrespectful and a low blow.
We
I
just
apologize.
don't it.
Because that was just very much disrespectful.
We don't acknowledge that.
We acknowledge it because
The city is not
we
perfect.
acknowledge
The
it.
city is by no means perfect, but when there are issues, bring them to us with some possible solutions. Let's not wait till the 11th hour. And again, we need to work together as a community, to move this community.
I absolutely agree.
Recommendation was brought before us the last time when Mr. Holmes brought the recommendation before us for Jonathan to be assistant city manager. We expressed our concerns then. We appreciate it. Jonathan, we fully support the recommendation. We appreciate your institutional knowledge that you bring. I support the decision, highly highly support the recommendation that Don brings, that has brought before us, so.
Thank you. And I agree. I mean, the continuity, when we do get a new city manager, even if we get one before Don leaves, Jonathan will help get that person up to speed with his knowledge of and history of the city. And we really do need that continuity. And we also need to acknowledge and reinforce our employees and make them want to be motivated to stay here, move up, and have those opportunities at upward mobility. So I really think for all those reasons, we need to support this. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Griffith. Hopefully you won't regret it.
And why is Jonathan still sitting there? He got projects and gotta be keeping.
Okay, now onward to regular business. Adopt resolution 2023-15 awarding ITB 2022-23 to Servpro of Putnam and authorizing a contract in the amount of $57,216.53 for the St. Johns River Center mold remediation and authorizing a budget amendment for FY 2022-23.
Madam Mayor, the caption?
I'm sorry.
The caption.
Okay.
A resolution of the city of Palatka, Florida, authorizing the award of ITB 2022-23 St. John's River Center mold remediation to Servpro of Putnam and authorizing the execution of a contract in the amount of not to exceed $57,216.53 and providing for scrivener service.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. McMillan?
Good evening, Mayor
Good
and
evening.
Commission. After this was an RFP and pulled originally due to a lack of coverage of areas that were not previously identified as active leaks and a concern that in the remediation protocol outlined in previous RFPs, we just wanted to make sure we were doing our due diligence to ensure that the mold remediation that could happen is done completely and thoroughly so we don't end up back in the same position we are today. So that entailed with creating an ITB specification to address the unidentified previous areas and also identifying a solution for the roof leaks that weren't addressed previously. Currently, we are underway with making those repairs in about 3 weeks. And after approval, if it's approved, we will conduct the mold remediation protocol.
Thank you.
We don't have a lot of choice, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of, well, I shouldn't say that. You always have choices. As you know, the center has been essentially closed for some time. The mold issue is significant. as you all know, there are health issues associated with mold. Having it open to the public with knowledge of the mold was going to be a liability that the city wouldn't want to undertake, and it wasn't the right thing, just from a standpoint of what's right and wrong. I was concerned that we not do the remediation and while we still had leaks. Now, I'm not gonna promise you there's not gonna be leaks on that building. I have serious concerns about the design and construction of that building, but I'm not a contractor and I'm not an engineer. However, I think history tells us that building has been problematic in terms of leaks. The last repairs that have been done with one more repair, as I understand it, involving flashing, is that correct?
Correct. We're looking at correcting some of the flashing details that were added in as an unapproved change during the construction of the building to prevent any future water intrusion. Also addressing the foundation issues towards the bottom with caulking as they were left open and not addressed during the time of construction. Also resecuring the gutters to the building, and they were not installed correctly with the appropriate amount of attachment points. So again, we're trying to address the outside issues before we begin into construction or remediation on the inside issues.
My only concern was that we try to do our very best, and I don't know that short of a rebuild that you can guarantee that a flat roof's not going to leak. But nonetheless, I've been assured, based upon the repairs that have been made and the experience that we've had since those repairs were made with not having or seeing leaks, and then the assessment that's been made regarding the flashing, the gutters, et cetera, that are thought to perhaps give us an added margin of safety in terms of the leaks, that we might move forward with the mold remediation to standards that are set not by us, but by others, that for safety of those who occupy or go to the premises. And when the RFP was put out and with multiple adjustments because of areas in the RFP that needed to be addressed, this was I think it was the only bid we got back, wasn't it? Ultimately?
This time was the only bid.
So that's where we are. And so if we're going to open the thing up anytime soon, this is where we are. And if we're going to do anything on a different level to assure, I mean, if there's something else you want to do, it would have to be something in the nature of some sort of relatively detailed assessment of the building, and then whatever that led to in terms of correction. And in that meantime, it's going to have to stay closed if we don't remediate the mold.
Have an engineer been consulted about the leakage or what the problem is? I know you said about the flashing thing, like who gave us that assessment?
Correct. We reached out to R&R Industries out of Holly Hill. They are a roofing and engineering firm that made an assessment for repairs to be made to the building and gave us a quote to complete said repairs.
What about their guarantee? What they're gonna do, scope of their work will.
So there's a 2-year guarantee on the scope of their work. The repairs to be made are to address the existing issues for I shouldn't say incomplete, but incorrect installation or modifications to the building.
And the second question goes back to whoever could answer it. The repairs of the past, there was no way we could have went back to them to correct what they failed to do correctly, or,
I think that, and I don't know that I can speak to all of them, but I think that you started with a building that was flawed from the beginning, to be honest with you. I mean, just to be blunt about it. I think there were issues from the beginning on the building and with the way it was built. Who built it? I don't know. It's not for me to say. But I've been told about a number of things as I've gone along and asked why, what, where, when. A walkable roof, elevator that faced the wrong way for the slope of what slope there was. I mean, things that in my opinion would have been design issues. But you know who built it? Mr. Diamond built it way back in the day. And that was under Mr. Shanahan.
No.
Before that. Mr. Symbol.
Symbol. They were the panel that made the selection of the contractor. He built it. And, I think we've been trying to chase the fixes, so to speak, ever since. And so, I mean, I don't know that any one person walked in and said, we're gonna do all this and fix it, and we're gonna guarantee it to be a fix. I think that, as I indicated, I've been told stories, everything from the original design had the elevator opening, I think, towards the back of the building, because the slope, what slope there is, goes towards the back. So you'd open the door downslope. But somebody didn't think that was a good idea. So they turned it around and opened the door towards the upslope. And then, that was its own issue. But again, I wasn't part of the design. I wasn't part of the construction. In my asking questions, much like you, Commissioner Jones, why, what's this thing? How do we know we're going to be able to spend $57,000 and use it for more than 6 months?
Right.
Before we have another rain? And all I'm told is, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to give you 100% guarantee that's going to be there. All I can tell you is this appears to be the best hope we have right now. We've got to keep the building for another 4 years, I think. I mean, I'm not saying what you'll do in 4 years, but our contract requires us to maintain it for 10 years as what it is. And at the end of that time, it becomes yours. And what you do with it at that point, is going to be a whole different ballgame. But right now, this money isn't technically budgeted, but we can take it out of reserves without a significant impact on reserves. It's about a 0.5% impact on reserves, as I understand it, 0.35, something in that nature. And we can get the building back open, because much like the boardwalk, and by the way, I think she's not here any longer, but it's not fair to say we ignored or turned our head, a face away from the boardwalk. We've been working that issue. We don't just have an endless supply of money we can throw at these issues because a particular citizen thinks that it ought to be prioritized. We've been working hard to find funding sources to do a good fix for that boardwalk. You're going to get a report at the next meeting of the results of that work. But I guess, that wasn't soon enough to avoid people making some statements like we're turning our head away from and our face away from a problem. But on this particular issue, if we don't do something to get the thing back open, I believe that you're probably going to hear some of the public questioning again, why? We've got it down there. Why can't we open it?
Right. So understanding the pressure from the public. But I would like to see a structural engineer go in there versus someone that just does roofing. And I mean, not to discredit what they do, but just what you just said, there's just so many different accounts of what's really wrong with the building. Of course, if I did roofing, I'll say, yeah, this is the problem, I could fix it. You could almost probably put tar out there to stop the leak for 2 years, and it's gonna come back. I'm just saying. So if we know it's a structural problem, but we're gonna put a Band-Aid to fix it, then we're gonna spend $57,000 to go in and clean it up and have to go back and do it again. I just think that's throwing good money out the bag. But again, I want to say that part of it.
I do just want to add, we did have a structural engineer go back when we identified that they made the changes to the precast roof slabs after Mr. Diamond completed the construction. So we still have those reports. We can revisit it at your direction, but just wanted you to know we had done that previously.
So what they reported will indicate that going in and doing the flashing will resolve our issues there.
That's a separate issue.
But you get what I'm saying, though. I mean, if maybe I just want to point out that he's a roofing contractor and engineer for roofing, but we may still have some issues. And again, it's doing something. I understand it's doing something, and we may be able to put a Band-Aid on it, but that's what we're going to do. That's all.
I misspoke. It's only 2.5 more years you have to. live with it.
Okay.
Not for 2.5.
So that will cover almost the 2 years that you said that they would guarantee?
Correct. I wouldn't call this the Band-Aid either. This is more.
It's just the 2 years that they're guaranteeing. I didn't say.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, this is a correction to the detail. This would have been something that it is a compromise. Obviously, we wouldn't be in this position had the building been constructed as outlined originally, but this is something that can hold us, and it does address actually the elevator issue with the downslope facing the shaft itself and the flashing that was installed as a compromise to the modification of the building.
it was a bad deal from the start. And it predated this board.
Nevertheless, people do want to see it open, and I think short of demoing it and reconstructing it, we don't have, we may have options. They elude me, but if all of these different engineers have looked at it, at this point, I think this is where we're at. And we need to consider moving forward, because I do hear a lot of people asking why and when it will be open.
That's the last comment, because the city manager said it. You know, if anybody gets sick in that building, that litigation come back on the city. So just make sure we talk about opening it fast. I know that I got full confidence in Mr. Killebrew will get it clean, but if it's a reoccurring and come back, I still.
Correct. We would not proceed with mold remediation until we verify through wet testing of the roof that we do not have any active leaks.
Thank you. Okay. Isn't there you're out of yellow cards, okay. No, Mr. Russo, you'd have to come. You can't, questions from the audience, I don't know. Thank you, though. Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor? Any opposition? Approved unanimously. Thank you. Next, ordinance 2020, wait a minute, okay, I'm sorry. Regular business. Adopt resolution 2023-16 authorizing extension of the performance period of the contract with DB Civil for South 14th and South 15th Street drainage for 30 additional days. Ms. Ganell?
So Ms. Krantz, can you bring up the presentation? So Marcia Gano, project manager, and I just want to really express appreciation to the commission and the mayor and city staff. I think this has been a best practice that whenever we got a problem, you know, we all had some challenges on this project, but be able to come in every month, extend it 30 days at a time with clear criteria that we're working for, able to communicate, and then everybody was aware of the issues and where we, you know, what was being done. And I think it's worked well with the contractor as well, because they understood that every 30 days if we were in the fire. So, you know, hopefully we don't get other jobs into this position and have to do it more, but this I think has turned out well. Okay, DB Stumble project, so, you know, everybody knows South 14th, South 15th, it's today. So if you've ever been out there, this is the big headliner news, asphalt is on the roads. You're okay. So if we do around the world here on this presentation, looking south on 15th, I'm standing right by Arctic Air. You can see all the way down there. I'm looking north on 15th, that's at the other end, the picture below it. What's interesting about that is we extended the asphalting past the dip. If anybody was ever going up that hill by Hank Bryan Park, there was a big dip there, a lot of road erosion, you know, so that's been fixed and incorporated into it. The side streets are done. I got Carr there, I got Laurel, and then on the far right, you can see looking north on 14th. So asphalt is everywhere in the construction zone. So if we go to the next chart, this is the update on where we are. There still is one area on number 8 there. The sidewalks, those, and the reason that's at 95, it's because of the sidewalks in front of Bennett Glass and Arctic Air. There's some more paving / sidewalks that need to be done there, so we couldn't claim victory on that square. Next steps. And so this is the kind of an important part that I want to share with everybody. The next week, January 16th through 19th, you know, Dalton Baylor, DB Civil, he's already warned me. He goes, it's going to be a light crew out there. I'm not bringing in heavy equipment. It's small trucks, you know, a couple, 4 or 5 guys with shovels, wheelbarrows, going around, touching up the sod, doing some. So he goes, you can expect calls from citizens. All of a sudden they're in there with trucks, they're in there with asphalt, all this stuff is happening. And then there's clearly still some things that need to be accomplished, and all of a sudden everybody's gone. But that's the intention, is to not put heavy traffic on it next week. We still have number 2 there. We still have some remaining sidewalks. We have city maintenance signs. We have handrails. So there is a list of things that still need to be done. I already talked about the parking in front of Arctic Air and Bennett Glass. That is not complete yet. We already have scheduled a punch list walkthrough with Pacero, the engineering firm, DB Civil, and Public Works, and myself. So we'll be out there. We want to start early and often, build a punch list of any little thing, capture it, and get those things accomplished. And then once we're done with the DB civil part, Public Works will be coming in very closely behind. They're gonna install the street signs, the no parking in the right of way, do some of the cleanup, stop bars, things like that. Go to the next chart. These were just some pictures I wanted to use because they were good. So you can see up there in the upper left-hand corner, that was what we showed last month was areas ready to be sodded, and then below it, you see the sodded look. So we did have a lot, if we picked the perfect day to do sod, it was a perfect day. We had a lot of rain that day, the next day. So hopefully it survives well. But we do need to, there are some ongoing implications here in this area so we can really get the project to where we need to be. There is prolific amount of parking on the right of way in that area. So we are asking for help with code enforcement, help through Public Works. We're going to post the signs, but we really do need to help educate the patrons in that area that it is illegal to park in the right of way. The damage to sidewalks, the damage to water meters, it's just, it's pretty extensive. So we need to start addressing that issue has been ignored there. And then on the far right, you just see a couple of examples of some sidewalks for different reasons that aren't in yet. The bottom one is an inlet drain. There was that we did some other steps to in order to accommodate some of the pooling there. So there is a little bit of minor work, but that's the plan going forward.
And if I could say something, I was speaking with staff this afternoon. I think that a next step is going to be for us to try to, and Marcia briefly, or Ms. Gano briefly touched on it, and that is try to get some buy-in from the residents over there. In other words, whether it be a flyer inviting them to a meeting, whether it be door to door on 14th and 15th in that area, but the city has gone to a lot of expense to make an improvement that I think is a huge change for the positive over what was there before. In everything, including the sod. Now we need the cooperation from the public to help us maintain it by, for instance, not parking in the right of way which will kill the grass. And then quite frankly, by trying to up their own game in terms of their houses, that broken window theory where gradually as you improve a neighborhood, people take more pride in it. And at some point in time, you've transformed the whole neighborhood. But I think we do it to start not by some kind of draconian enforcement measure. I think we try to get buy-in from the folks over there to try to meet us in improving their neighborhood. And then if that doesn't work, then maybe code enforcement does have to do some things. But that's my thought. It looks nice over there. I think the drainage problems are going to be greatly improved. If you've been over there, you've already noticed that some folks have taken the initiative to fix their houses up or clean up or whatever. I think some of them got for sale signs on them now, but none of that. So that's my thought. The commission can weigh in as it might, but it would be nice if now we could get buy-in from those folks. We've given them a nice street. If they could kind of join with us and buy into the whole idea of making the neighborhood look better, it'd be awful nice.
Thank you.
So will like that car is parked where you don't want them parked right now. So they're gonna cause a problem for law enforcement and code enforcement with selective enforcement.
We're not gonna be selective. I mean, our position is gonna be, you can't park there. They've got driveways.
So
There'll be a lot of-
it's gonna be citywide is what I'm saying. Citywide, there's no parking on the right of way.
We've been trying to go that route. We've been trying, but it's a big city and you got 2 code enforcement officers now. We'd really like to get some buy-in out there. And I know that, you talked about it, Commissioner, one time over on Madison or someplace, talked about the fact that we fix the street and maybe we try to get them to fix their houses. And it's kind of one of those things that feeds off each other. Well, this is a good place to start. We fixed the street, the drainage, all that good stuff. So it really looks nice. I drove it today. I'm sure you have too. Anyway.
And I think one of the things to start with the transition, once whatever the decision you make, signage would be beneficial. Because a lot of times when you have people that frequents, you're killing a culture that has been for forever. And so if you put them at an inconvenience by putting signs somewhere that would impede on the parking, I think that would be beneficial as well.
Like right in the middle.
Right in the middle, or
Agree?
That's your buddy.
Yes, I know. I know that is. I drove by there today.
Thank you. Ms. Krantz?
Thank you. Hold on. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Palatka, Florida, authorizing an extension to the contract with DB Civil Construction for the CDBG DR South 14th and South 15th Street Drainage Project for an additional 30 days pending Florida Department of Economic Opportunity review and approval and providing for Scrivener's errors.
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition?
Has
the Yeah. button
open to public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Trying to write a public comment card. I'm not sure.
Okay, open it up to public comments, sorry. No public comments? Oh, okay, bring up your comment.
That's for.
Is it about this topic? Okay, thank you. Okay, please come up, Ms. Grace. Name and address for the record.
Nicole Grace, Executive Director, Keep Putnam Beautiful, 205 North Second Street, Palatka, Florida, 32177. I haven't spoken with Ms. Thomas. Counselor Thomas, about it yet. I was directed not to bring that for public comment, but it's been, we have a group that's local that is looking at picking up litter along all of Madison Street coming up as a volunteer organization, minimum of 4 times a year. It's not improvements like we're talking about as a city, but it is, beautification efforts, and it's not someone coming in, it's here, and they're looking at, they contacted us and wanted to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it together and send it out, but I wanted to let you know it is happening.
I think that's a perfect opportunity. I know a while back, I had a conversation with the city manager about the possibilities of hosting or doing a local adopt a road within the city. And I think this would be an opportune time for us to kind of just revisit that. I know a lot of things have happened, COVID and all of those things. And it got, I don't want to say lost, but I think this is an opportune time for us just to revisit that and possibly make that a citywide incentive.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Grace.
And just for record, Sonny, I'm sorry, did we, so we approved item 7 and you've already read item 8, is that right?
No, we haven't. Yes, we did. I'm sorry. Yes, we did. Yeah. So now we have a
We were
motion.
talking about 7 and then the next thing I knew, I thought you were reading 8, so maybe I'm wrong.
Right, we didn't hit 8. We're on 7. We're still on 7.
It's the same project though. We put them back to back, so
But we hadn't finished 7, and that was the public comment,
Okay.
and
just want to make sure that I thought.
we had a motion and second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Unanimously. Number 8, adopt resolution 2023-R17, authorizing the execution of DEO grant agreement HM 005 14th and 15th Street Drainage. Modification number 3, extending the grant performance period until March 31st, 2023.
A resolution of the City of Palatka, Florida, authorizing execution of modification number 3 to the Department of Economic Opportunity Agreement at number HM 005, providing for Scrivener's errors.
So move.
Okay, Ms. Gano.
I really don't have any other, I don't have a presentation with this one. I don't have any other comments to offer. It's just really keeping the grant aligned with our project execution.
Thank you. Motion, all in favor? Oh, any opposition? Unanimously approved. Thank you. Number 9, discussion, direction, allocation of community project funds.
So I had sent emails to all of you with some alternatives. Remember, we had talked about this, and maybe it's a good thing for you to pass it for 2 weeks. There's not an emergency. There's nothing pending. It's up to you. But I have sent to you options, 2 options at least. And of course, you're free to come up with any options that you want. But I told you that I would come back with some proposals. I did, sent them to you by email. And actually, the city attorney and I, even as late as just before the meeting, talked about a set of criteria that would supplement what I sent out by email, but I haven't sent those criteria out to you because we were just kind of batting them around and formulating them. So it might be good to pass this for one meeting and give you time to look at what I sent, and then I'll send you the criteria as well. Again, these are just suggestions. It's for you to decide which, if any, you wish to move forward with, but I told you that I would bring you back something that you could use as a blueprint, and that's what I've done.
Thank you. Would we like to move this onward? I'm not opposed to that. Okay. Do I have to do anything with that? Go ahead.
We're just gonna, motion to table it for the next, meeting.
Yes. Is that what
I
you're
I
doing?
make a motion to table, this item for the next meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Unanimously agreed. Public hearings. Ordinance 2022-27, amending city code section 2-250, 185 subsections B1-2, providing for an update to the benefits payable to the police officer pension retirees. Second reading adoption.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, revising the code of ordinances of the city of Palatka, Florida by amending section 250.185 subsections B1 and through 2, providing for an update to benefits payable to police officer pension retirees, providing for severability provisions, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for publication, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date, and providing for scrivener's errors.
Okay. Thank
Second.
you. Public comment, open it up to public comment. No public comment, we'll move forward. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. Ordinance 2022-28, amending city code section 2-240, subsection B2, providing for an update to the benefits payable to firefighter pension retirees. Second reading adoption.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, revising the code of ordinances of the state of Palatka, Florida by amending section 2-240, subsection B2, providing for an update to the benefits payable to the firefighter pension retirees, providing for severability provisions, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for publication, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date, providing for scrivener's errors.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to open up to public comment. Anybody have any public comment? No comment, thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, moving onward. Ordinance 22226, rezoning 1206 Mosley Ave, Palatka, Florida, 32177, from City of Palatka C1A to R1A to City of Palatka Neighborhood Commercial C1A, parcel number 1210-261370-0060-0010, second reading adoption.
Thank you again. Ordinance number 2022-26, an ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, providing that the official zoning map of the city of Palatka, Florida be amended from City of Palatka C1A R1A to City of Palatka Neighborhood Commercial C1A for the following property: 1206 Mosley Avenue, Palatka, Florida 32177. Center Street subdivision, map book 3, page 129, block F, lots 1, 2, plus the south 18.46 feet of lot 3 plus lot 23, book 201, page 588, parcel number 1210-261370-00600010, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date.
So moved.
Second. Ms. Walsh?
This is, as you know, a second reading, and it's for the Children's World Town Care Center on Mosley Avenue and Twig Street. This is mainly a housekeeping item for the applicant. They had two different zonings on their property and they're cleaning it up and having one zoning.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up to public comment. Anybody here for public comment? Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, thank you. I am going to recuse myself for the next ordinance item and pass Gavin.
Item D, which is the ordinance 2023-01 to amend the conditions of approval of zoning ordinance 1640-47 to include restaurant as allowable use at 623 and 625 Lowell Street, first reading.
Thank you, sir. An ordinance of the city of Palatka, Florida, providing that ordinance 1647 be amended to add restaurant use to the PUD C1A planned unit development commercial neighborhood list of conditions of approval and exhibit B for the property known as 623 and 624, 625 Laurel Street. Dick's map of Palatka, map book 2, page 46, block 40, part of lot 1, book 73, page 145, excluding book 166, page 315, parcel number 42, 10, 27, 68, 50, 0400, 0010, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and it's been properly second. We'll open up the floor for comment. Or would you like to speak to this item?
I can, sir.
Mhm.
Sunny, would you pull up the staff report, please? This is a request from the applicant to add the use of a restaurant to their conditions of approval to an ordinance that was passed in 2016, granting them a C1A/PUD zoning for this property. At that time, of course, there was no restaurant included in the conditions. It was mainly office space and a residential space upstairs. Now the applicant has someone who's interested in creating a small restaurant in that space according to code regulations, and they would like to add this as a use to their conditions of approval. Stand for questions.
Was it considered by the planning commission?
Yes, sir, it was considered at the January meeting and
With the recommendation,
they recommended approval.
approval.
Yes, sir.
I just have a question. So how does that affect the property around the corner when we start talking about the Hammond Hall and its zoning?
That's a good question. Good question. This is an existing situation. Hammock Hall is not.
The restaurant already exists, is what you said?
No, sir, the C1/PUD zoning already exists.
Right.
It's been there since 2016.
What was the hang up about Hammond Hall?
It was surrounded completely by residential and all the residents opposed it.
Same neighborhood?
Yes, sir, a block away.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Do we need to?
Public comment?
Public comment.
I'll turn this in. A Liquid Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. This is not anything like Hammond Hall. This has been a commercial operation since the 40s, probably since the 20s. Former Mayor Tim Smith's uncle, I believe it was, Kenny Smith, had a grocery store there in 1949. My family lived on Kirby Street, 1 block from this place. It's always been commercial across the street. Campbell School is catty cornered across the street. In front of it that way, and a half block down was Rayburg Service Station. And right across Laurel Street, you have rentals, you have First Baptist Church, you have what used to be the Coca-Cola Bottling Company, and which is now the Azalea Brewery. So this is a completely different thing from Hammock Hall. And I support the change that you allowing the conditional use of a restaurant, which is allowed under their zoning if you grant the conditional use. Thank you.
Leo, can I ask you a question since you got up?
Sure.
So is that one block away from Hammond Hall, and they're asking the same provisions for Hammond Hall?
It's 1 block away from Hammock Hall, but it faces commercial and it's not surrounded by residential. Hammock Hall is totally surrounded on all 4 sides by residential. This building has always been commercial and is not surrounded by residential. It's surrounded basically on 3 sides. Well, on Laurel Street, it's commercial. And then on the back side, it's residential, but it's rental properties. But it has always been commercial. It was a grocery store. It was a beauty parlor. I believe there was an antique store in there. More recently, there was a bakery in there and of course, the realty company. It's always been a commercial use and uses that. Hammock Hall is a totally different thing. Hammock Hall was a small grocery store with residents in the back and residential all the way around it. And it went out of that use years ago and became R1. This has never gone out of the commercial use.
I just want to know the location. And I was gonna clarify that it was used for commercial, and you know that.
It was used for commercial. I can vouch for that. We moved over there when I was 18 months old. My parents went to that store. I remember being in there when I was probably almost 2 years old. We moved out to the Heights when I was 2 years old. I very well remember it, yes.
When you were two?
I absolutely do. I remember when I was 1. Do you want to talk later? I'll talk to you.
I think the difference between, that, building there, the commercial building and Hammock Hall, I think was residential. It was a residential, designation. From what I remember.
Thank you. Ms. Gano.
Marcia Gano, and I'm representing the properties right across the street at 319 and 321 Kirkland. And I can just say that the use of this is, I mean, I live in that, and have property right there in that neighborhood. I think Ms. Kitchens articulated extremely well. This does feel like commercial property. It is commercial property. It'd be an enhancement to the neighborhood to allow the operation of a restaurant there. We really are just right on the border. It kind of would extend the downtown that way. Like she said, we're right across the street from Azalea Brewery. And the residents in that area highly support it, and would appreciate support of the board.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
Russo, 415 Emmett. We're very much in support of Chuck and Tina Duck Realty and having this building be converted to this real restaurant. In fact, we're kind of wondering why it was even shut down, because we had Debbie's Bakery in there, and the health department signed off on it while the building had to be made some adjustments, and then of course the county signed off on it, but the city shut them down, from what I understand. I wasn't quite certain why we did that. If the health department didn't care, the county didn't care.
The city has a zoning issue to consider. The health department doesn't. In the county, it isn't in the county, so I won't. So the city has a reason for caring.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, we support the change.
Yeah, and just, I don't have a question for you.
I'm the president of the neighborhood association, so anyway.
Yeah. So again, it was an inquiry by me because of that Hammock Hall issue. It don't have any bearing on how I feel about your opening the business, for clarity.
Do we have any more public comments? Would you all like to speak to it? If you desire. All right, well, you don't have, you don't listen, you don't have to, you don't have to. I think we're about to bring this thing to a resolve at this moment. If we have no more public comment, we will now call for question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, do so by saying nay. Motion carries unanimously. -1 which is Mayor Robbie Pereira, who has to recuse herself. Mayor, you may come get your job back.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. You want to make something quick now?
Okay, number 11, city manager report.
I'll try to be very brief, even though the meeting is not extremely long. I'll mention just a couple of things to you. We've been in contact with our lobbyists, as all of you know. I think we did make a presentation to Representative Payne and Senator Hudson on Monday of this week, along with other municipalities in the county, and outlining a couple of the city's priorities for assistance from the legislature. We've also been in touch with our lobbyists, Becker and Poliokoff, and actually they've asked us to come up on Wednesday afternoon of next week, Mr. Griffith, myself, and Ms. Correa, to make a sort of quick dash around Tallahassee on those dates prior to the rural county days, when I assume everybody's going to go up and make the presentations and the contacts. So we'll be leaving Wednesday afternoon, going up, spending one night, and the kind of fulfilling their itinerary on Thursday, and then driving back. Hoping to just make some contacts with some of the folks that'll be perhaps deciding on some of the appropriations that the city's going to be seeking next year. You've already had an update on some of the work going around. You've seen it. They're making great progress with the intersections as well as 14th and 15th Street. And all that's really looking good. I know it's been painful, I guess, to for the businesses while they have been having to endure the construction. As you do know, we did go ahead and improve that one parking lot that you approved a couple of months ago. And that's the 800 block, right? 700 block. I hope it's provided some temporary relief. We didn't spend a lot of money at all in improving it. The owner actually helped us out some. So we've created about 7 or 8 parking spaces. And, we're trying to do what we can to make it as painless as possible, although there's just no doubt there's some disruption involved. The 2 items that I really need to ask for some assistance from you on are those set forth in our agenda. We really need to circle back and get a date for a workshop when we can discuss the strategic plan or give you a major project update, and also talk about the business incubator recommendations that we've gotten as a result of the study that was performed. And then secondly, we need to have at a workshop, whether the same one or a different one, some specifics on the ARPA projects status. We made some generic, gave us some generic categories where you'd like to see money placed, but the specifics of how that money is placed and applied for some of those projects is really something that staff needs some direction from you on. That we still have some time to spend that money, but time goes away more quickly than we all think. So we'd like to go ahead and have a workshop where we can talk about those things, get some specific direction on some of those projects or some of those categories of expenditures that you outlined, as well as talking about the strategic plan and the business incubator that we have been studying, or that we've had some studies done for us pursuant to grant money that you'll recall we were able to expend. So I'd really like you to consider giving us a date. Sonny may have some now, or I guess if this isn't convenient for you to pick a date now, then tell us how you'd like us to try to go about getting a date, but we really need a workshop.
Ms. Krantz, do you have any
Thank
potential
you.
dates?
A few dates that staff looked at. We looked at trying to give you guys an option of a dedicated day or an option of trying to do it before a meeting. As to doing it before a meeting, we would propose February 9th, which is before the commission meeting at 6, or February 13th before the CRA meeting at 5. As to a dedicated day, maybe February 6th.
I don't want to. We tend to not be able to really hash out what we need to talk about. We were trying to start a meeting on time, so I would recommend that we do a dedicated day, so we're totally focused on the matters that are before us, and nothing that will be, so we can just focus. Okay.
I can concur with that. Okay, so you're proposing February 6th?
What time, Sonny? Did you guys have a time?
Staff has that entire day available, so we're willing to start when the commission would be.
Does the commission have a preference as to starting time on February 6th? That's a Monday.
4:30? Okay, do we have it? Okay, 4:30 on the 6th.
And for clarification, that's to set a time and date for the workshop concerning the business incubator, not ARPA.
Yeah, I'd like to just do it all. Sonny, is there a reason why you asked to differentiate it?
For my own clarification in minutes.
Okay, I'd like us to have both topics on the agenda unless there's a reason not to, so we can go ahead and, as the commission indicated, let's try to just get into it, get it all worked out and move on from there.
Okay, everybody good with that plan? Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank
I have
you.
no further comments.
Okay, Ms. Thomas?
No comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Griffith?
want to thank everybody for the kind comments. Really appreciate your trust in me. Promise I won't let you down. And I will yield the rest of my time to Ms. Tucker. She has some good news. I think you all have heard before us what you had. So, Ms. Tucker.
Ms. Tucker?
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to announce publicly that the city has been awarded an additional $1.8 million in grants, 3 grants, to do potable lines on St. John's Avenue and to do the potable lines on Madison Street from 5th to 11th, as well as the work out at the water treatment plant. That's it.
Thank you. Great news. Are we doing? Okay. Going around the room, Mr. McMillan?
Well, I very deeply wanted to hold the keys to a $350,000 front-loaded garbage truck tonight. Unfortunately, I don't, but I do have good news in that it has begun its journey from North Carolina. We're anticipating delivery the beginning of next week, which is a huge relief for us regarding the situation with our CNG truck and its availability to complete its route. That's all I have. I'm actually very excited for that. That's a big relief off of me and my staff.
Okay, well, good news for you and all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gano?
Just one point of clarification. So the workshop, we keep calling it business incubator study, and that wasn't part of it. It was also a pretty extensive marketing study.
Mhm.
So I think, between the we have some great recommendations and some ideas, and between the NFRC and between the business marketing studies, we've paid close to $100,000. So it really behooves us to slice and dice those, look at the recommendations, see what's in there. I think we're challenging ourselves to really be able to present it in a way that, it's not just a list of ideas, but there's some depth and breadth there. So it's not binary on yes or no in a business incubator, but really understanding the marketing study part of it. And so we can all, collect, really benefit from each other's perspectives on what we do going forward.
Thank you. Chief Shaw? Okay. Mr. Dennis?
Good evening.
Good evening.
A couple things where our CNG station is still open and taking care of the garbage truck. Another topic though, this week we entered into, in November, we entered into an agreement with Georgia Pacific for a sharing of a discount that's available to us. They'll be buying natural gas in larger quantities than I buy and getting a discount that we're sharing with them. So it's a profitable thing for us. And of course, through our revenue sharing with the city, profitable for the city as well. One last thing, it's going to get down to 31 degrees this weekend. I'm on the board of the Bread Life, and we're opening up the shelter on this Saturday night. Last time we sheltered 12 people, I believe. But,
And this is at First
14.
14.
14.
And this is at
I
First,
came in at 3 in the morning, so I didn't.
First Presbyterian Church?
Yes. The
Westminster
fellowship
Hall.
hall.
Okay, fellowship hall. Okay,
So
thank you.
that's all I have.
Mr. Cutright?
Well, first of all, say congratulations. Glad to see you on board
Thank
about America. What I want to bring attention, like Mr. Holmes said, that we have a new code enforcement officer. She's working out pretty well. Her name is Christy Lowe. She's coming along pretty good, and she's a fast learner, and I think she's going to be a wonderful addition to the team. In the recreation department, we have a Palatka city recreation / Palatka Power Police Athletic Golf Tournament at the end of the month, 28th. We're looking for teams, and we're also looking for swag bag gifts. So if your company want to donate anything to put into the bags, we appreciate it. But more than that, we need support. So if you can come out and help us volunteer and just show your face and meet some of the participants in the golf tournament, it'd be wonderful. Last couple of tournaments we had, Commissioner Bourne was out there and he actually played. Well, I can't even say he really played, but he was out there. So if you're available, please come out. Chocolate starts at 09, and then we have lunch around 1:30. And it should end up around 2:30, so that's the time with them.
Okay, can I have that date again?
January 28th.
Okay.
how much is
The sponsor holds, or we have the green is 250, silver would be 500, gold would be 750, and if you really want to be the big dog sponsor, 1,000 platinum. 1,000 platinum. I'm gonna give everybody one of these too. And then on this picture is the defending champion. All right, other than that, everything's going pretty well in the community affairs department, and looking forward to doing wonderful things in 2020.
Thank you.
After the golf tournament. The charity is Police Athletic League and the City Recreation Youth Programs. Oh, yes, we have, T-ball, we started in March. We also looking at doing a instructional basketball, 3-on-3 league tournament. And we also got, the mayor's health district that we need to talk when you get a chance. This is going to start in February. All right.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bourne, we made a mistake and put your name in the thing.
I'm good, I'm good.
We heard you were.
I won last time.
Mr. McNair?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Couple of items. So towards the end of this month, we are looking to wrap up the construction on new T-hanger storage facilities at the airport. And I'm suggesting that we do a ribbon cutting, really, push it out there a little bit, to see some improvement at the airport. It's about 6 units. The guys have been doing a great job, project management. And it's really good to see additional facilities. They're already taken, which is a good thing, but we're looking forward to having some new facilities at the airport. So we're looking forward. At the end of this month, we expect some type of communication from staff to kind of pull together ribbon cutting for you guys.
And thank you.
Second item, just a heads up, towards the end of this month, we'll have our annual military operation at the airport. Typically, the guys come in from different military bases. They're basing their operation out of 28J or Palatka Airport, but they're running down to the different military operating areas. So we typically shut down the airport for a block of time. They come in, do their thing. We notify all the tenants. We work with law enforcement as well as fire and rescue, just kind of keeping everybody abreast to the activity that's going on. You're gonna see a lot of different aircraft and helicopters, so that's kind of usual. And that typically going to generate some calls. So they're looking to do that towards the end of this month, about 25th and 26th. Other than that, the airport as well, and we're hoping to pick up the pace on improvements out there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Jones?
Madam Mayor and Commissioners, we had our first of 2 health screening, blood screenings that was terrific. We have 43 of our employees that came out and were able to participate in our first event, which consisted of a gift card and food truck, as well as we had 3 drawings for $50 gift cards that we had winners. Eddie Cutright, Deborah Armento, and Officer Justin Hale. So our second one is scheduled for January 24th from 9 to 3 at the Price Garden Center. So we're still doing the same thing. We'll have the food truck. We'll be still giving out gift cards, $25 gas gift cards for participating. Registration has been sent to all of the department heads. If you do not have it, please just let me know and I'll send it back out again. Get the people that are on our health insurance, your employees, to register. It's important, and that is how we cap out how far our health insurance can be determined by the rate increase. Even if we were to come in by a 15% increase, we would be capped at like 6. So that's gonna help us in this, so please inform the employees to come out, register, go online on the pick a time and schedule or see me, and I'm able to go in and register them if they don't have a registration case.
How many more employees do you need?
43.
You had
We
40.
have 43. We need 84 to get our 75% of the people that are covered. Yes.
21.
41, 43. I'm Yes, you can have the list of the people that have not registered yet, yes. Yes, and I will hold their hands if they need to. So we have that, and of course, we are moving right along with clearing up a lot of our job openings that we have. I've sent it out. I'm sure Mr. Holmes will inform you, all of what we have vacant. So, with that, we're just moving along in HR.
Thank you.
When will we start the city manager replacement? I know you guys have already.
Yeah, I sent it, yeah, we did 3 preliminaries of that. I sent all of you all 6, the 6 that we have. However you want to proceed with that. If you want us to go ahead and do the other 3 preliminary, or you can just tell me what you want to schedule, and I'll start setting them up for you all at a time that's convenient for you all to begin the interview process.
So the consensus of the commission seems to be, of those who have contacted me, that you'd prefer just to do a open interview process with the entire commission sitting in bank.
Yeah.
And so that is the process that we had planned to pursue. We've done 3. If you'd like us to do the other 3, we're happy to, but all we really did in the 3 was, like I said, sort of ask questions to make sure the people seem to be that our conversation with them convinced us that their resume was representative of the quality of the applicant, and that's what we did. And we found all 3 of them. We did not find a reason to disqualify any of the 3 that we interviewed. We're happy to do the other 3 if you'd like us to.
I think it would make sense to do that, given that you've started that process. To me, it would make sense to continue.
And so thereafter, that's when we'll be able to set a date for the overall.
So if we find all 3 not to be disqualified, then you all will want me to set a date for all 6.
Thank you. And excuse me, have applications, the period closed for acceptance of applications? Just asking.
It hasn't.
Okay.
Is it until
Field.
Jill, Bill,
What's the
okay.
date? How did you put a closing date on the application?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so,
My only concern is that some of these applicants, if they're looking
Mhm.
for another job, they may find another job. We don't move on with the process.
And that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to speed up this
Yeah.
process.
I agree.
Because there's a
is there
whole lot of
date
things
in mind
that's.
from the commission that you would like me to close receiving, and I can schedule next week for the Zoom interviews that we did. And then therefore we can move forward on a date for you all to begin your interview process.
What is-
Are y'all doing are you doing background checks on them and everything?
No, that's right.
No?
All we did right now was just, like I said, it was just a preliminary screening.
Um,
We got applications, they looked good on paper. We just wanted to talk to the people to make sure that in answering a few questions, they seemed like they were what they represented themselves to be. And I think the consensus of all of us was all 3 of them that we talked to did. Was that?
Yes.
I would make the recommendation that we, if possible, we close. Cause if we close on a Friday, when do you typically close an application? Because
Friday's fine.
I would love to have this done. Or at least the interview portion, the preliminary done prior to the end of this month, so that we know we have 1 workshop next month, but we can also have that open set of interviews. Because what is it, April or May? For you?
Probably the end of April if I get my vacation.
Those are things that I'm in the back of my mind, having that transition period. Because that's something that we really haven't had in the past. And I think if we can really have a strong transition period, if it gets to that point.
I'll work out till the end of May if we don't have that transition period in play. In other words, if I need to do that and not take the vacation, then I will.
I don't think Valeria's quite the same, Miss Thomas is quite in the same
Yeah,
thought.
she's a good-
The train of
Along with
thought. She's like rocking.
That brings up the other point. So what about the attorney position?
We're gonna put that RFP out as well.
So it's not out yet?
It is not.
I think we need to ASAP that one. I mean, she's leaving at the same time.
She's
Yeah.
leaving before him, she said.
Well, I think.
And we're happy to do that. It's just that, my question to you then is, do you want to? You've already had question about naming an assistant city manager before the new city manager was chosen. Under the process that's in your charter, the city manager names the city attorney and you confirm. You want me to be the one to name the new city attorney?
We might need you to, what's.
That. And that's a good point. That's a valid point as well. No, I didn't think on that.
Think on that.
In the meantime, though, I think we do need to move forward as quickly as possible with the city manager interviews, because again, those candidates may no longer be available as well as Mr. Holmes leaving. So we just need to get going.
We'll do it.
Thank you. Anything in the finance department?
I represent the pension as well as the finance right now. We have not had a finance director for 4 months now. We are continuing operations, but there's certainly areas that we need help with because the audit will be starting shortly. We, as far as the pension has moved their dates compared to the previous years because of the investment strategies that have been recommended. So our dates are different than what they have been in the past. Our new dates have all been approved by the pension boards. We do need another member on the police pension board and would like some recommendations for that position, because keeping a quorum with a group of 5, we have to have 3 just like here, and it can be difficult getting everyone together for a quorum. And that's about it.
I have a question. How are we dressing the finance director?
Well, as bad as I don't want to, I think that we're going to end up having to move on with the talent search, talent find process. Ms. Jones has put out the job position in multiple different ways. And we've gotten a couple applications, got a couple that were good. But as I told you, the one wanted 125 and the second one basically indicated that she did not want to come on board with us. I think she also had, there's an opening or was an opening in Green Cove. And maybe one also in Palatka, and I think that maybe that weighed into her decision. So at this point, unless we get something that comes along pretty quickly, I think we're gonna have to go ahead and go with the expense of hiring the talent finder and see if that produces anything.
Thank you.
Is there a commission on the police pension board? Was it? Is there a commission on the police pension?
Yes, Mayor Carrera is now going to replace Mayor
Appointed
Gill.
tonight. You just appointed me tonight.
You need one more then?
Yes, I need one more.
Is there any qualification, job category or anything else that you have to satisfy in order to be on that board?
I can send out the qualifications to the board members for recommendations.
Thank you. Thank you. Chief Taylor.
I just had a quick update for
training. As you guys probably remember, we had about 11 new people come on in the last year. And so we've been trying to get them up to speed. And because of the Surfside incident, the governor set aside some money for USAR training. So we've captured about $9,200 there for training, and we're getting our people up to speed on that side. And we have a hazmat class going on at the K-Lark station in March, and that's about $14,000 in savings. So that'll get all of our people up to speed. They'll need the experience, but they'll have the classes. That's it. Thank you.
And while the chief's here, I will take a point of privilege. Most of you, many of you may know that the newly completed Beck building there on Reed Street, some of us know it as the old Pick and Save building. I guess after that it was Rochester. Anyway, they suffered a catastrophic flood a few weeks ago. An 8-inch forced main water line broke under the slab, and it wasn't detected immediately. There was a lot of water and a lot of mud in the building. You've gone by and looked at the generators and the dryers and everything there. That's what that's all about. I think they had about 3 inches of water in the entire building. And the point of this being that our fire department responded, of course, Public Works responded. I received a call. People who were not even on call came out to shut the water off at our line to try to stop the flooding once we were notified of it. But the point of mentioning this while the chief is here is that a fire crew responded. I don't know which shift it was. Was it?
I believe it was the C shift with Captain Sutton.
And there wasn't a fire, and there wasn't really anything at that point they could do. However, instead of sitting on the fire truck, they grabbed squeegees and shovels and mops and went into the business and began pushing water out the doors. And I received a call from someone who was there at the time before I got there later on in the morning that said that they just, they were very impressed. They were very impressed that our crew went in and actually started, they weren't putting out a fire. They weren't saving anybody. It wasn't technically within their, I guess their duty assignment to do that, but they did. And it got a lot of attention from folks, passerbys, people there and all for it. I think they had a lot of people trying to push the water out because there was a lot of water. But anyway, Chief, I think I've already mentioned that to you, but I want to mention it publicly.
And we thanked our captain for doing that too and making sure that happened.
Thank you. Ms. Walsh.
At the end of the year, we have processed 220 official cases. We have processed 220 official cases. That does not include walk-ins, phone calls, emails, anything like that. We have also concentrated on our business tax receipts process. So in 2019 and 2020, we collected about almost $69,000 with 495 customers or businesses that applied and paid their tax receipt. In 2021, we collected almost $80,000. And last year, we collected $102,000. So we're following up we're clearing out files and contacting people, sending reminder notices. We're following up and doing windshield surveys in town, just going by and seeing who's open, who's got a business, and do they have a BTR. We are also going through records and finding that many of these people haven't paid their business tax receipts in 4 or 5 years. And so we're trying to catch up with that. So we'll see what happens this year in that respect. The amount of money, just as an aside, that we have collected in project fees for applications for planning board cases, building permits, historic preservation things, and zoning verification letters is about $42,600 this past year. So lastly, I'd like to tell you about some of the projects that we've been working on. You've been hearing about them for several months. Next week, whenever the 18th is, January 18th, Wawa is breaking ground. The cottages at St. John's has broken ground. They've gotten their permitting straightened out between a new company. It was sold to somebody else. They had some issues there. The cottages at St. John's. It's 194 duplex rental units, market rate on St. John's Avenue, just west of, not Barrington. Woodland Point, thank you, Woodland Point. I went out there this evening and there's piles of dirt. The road, St. John's Avenue is also under construction now. They're getting ready to put in a box culvert down the center of the street. So they're working with the county on that project to dovetail their project and any needed improvements with the county's work. Let's see, we've got Longhorn Steakhouse has submitted their plans. I was on the phone with them today regarding a variance for their signage requirements. I don't know if they're going to need that or not. As you know, Checkers is under construction. Let's see where else. Iliano's Coffee House is in plan review. You know that Scooters is open. They opened last month before last. Let's see. We closed the bid process today on our cultural resources survey update. So we'll be working through that process shortly. We should have a contractor soon and get started on that project. We are also going to be presenting our capital improvements element to you probably in March. It'll go to the planning board in February. That's something we've been working on for several months now. And Crystal Cove Campground is expected to come in next week with an application to build an RV park on that property.
Not the 10 acres, but the additional property.
Yes, sir. This is 170 acres across the street, south of the 10-acre property. About 60% of that site is buildable. The rest of it will be a conservation.
Lots happening, folks, lots happening. And I just gotta say, Ms. Walsh and her staff have done a great job. They continue to do a great job. It's,
Thank you, sir. That's all I have. If you have any questions?
Thank you. Anybody question? Go ahead.
Well, I did, and I was waiting on Commissioner Bourne to ask his famous question.
What's that?
Can we get that in the email?
Yeah, we like to have.
And I say
always
that because
access-
I get a lot of calls about, well, what's going on? Listen, I don't know. There's so much going on, but if we can just get that so we can have a reference for ourselves.
Yeah, it helps out. I mean, and it shows what we're doing in the city and answers a lot of questions that people may have. Thank
And
you.
also a picture says 1,000 words or a video or something. Don has been sending us like pictures of work and progress that has been made in the city. And I'm like, wow, when I get those. So if we can also get that in an email,
And I think,
that would be amazing.
and I think some of the things that we know are coming to fruition, those are things that we should be pushing out on our social media. The breaking of Wawa, who doesn't want a
Right.
Wawa?
we're gonna,
What about
if
the
you don't
public,
mind, we're
public
gonna-
information officer position?
well, I was gonna tell you, we have somebody we're gonna be talking to next week. That might be, that we may have a good candidate for that. And so, we would probably try to do a mixed, job classification with a PIO and also a project manager. She's a very dynamic young lady who responded to an ad. First Marine female combat instructor in the United States Marine Corps. Out of the service now, and I think we were all very impressed with her. We didn't think her qualifications for the job she applied for were quite where they didn't meet some of the others, but we definitely wanted to see if we could entice her to do something for the city because we think she brings a lot of quality. So we're gonna be talking to her next week and seeing if we can convince her to come on board. And maybe that'll take care of that PIO position.
Thank you. Commissioner comments.
May I say happy early birthday to Commissioner Boren?
You can.
It's the reason why. Wait.
Yeah, we were gonna get to that, but no time like the present.
You don't have a cake, Sonny, or?
We don't have to sing. What do we have to do?
You stole somebody's thunder. No, you can, we defer to Madam Mayor. Go ahead, Madam.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you, certainly appreciate that. I much appreciate that.
And do I see chocolate, extra chocolates for you?
Thanks, Sonny, for the card and the chocolate. I much appreciate that. I thank you guys so much for recognizing my birthday. And I'm celebrating it tomorrow
And when
and the
is
whole
it?
weekend. I won't be in town, so. And that's why I'm gonna miss the shelter thing, so trying to celebrate.
We're
Thank you.
celebrating. Okay, thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell?
Happy birthday,
Thank you.
Commissioner Borum. Madam Mayor, welcome to your first official meeting that you walked through, or your second technically, but welcome. It only gets better with time.
Thank you. I hope so. And then thank you for your patience.
We look forward to working with you and helping you work through the process.
Thank you.
Ditto what Commissioner Campbell said, he's right for one time. And also, I would like to propose this as far as the department head reports. Could we change it up to let those department heads give a report at the beginning, somewhere in the beginning of the meeting? I really value their time of working all day and then stay here.
It's you that do it. I just had to get you back.
So anyway, I appreciate them coming in, but the other part of that is, at the beginning of the meeting, you notice that the commission hall is full. So people are missing the good reports that we have, and they're not getting that, and that's important. I think that's important, and kind of like that, they're getting that data board from everybody, and they could have a lot more hand claps than what they're telling us. So
Good with me.
that's how I feel.
Where would you like to put it? I mean, after the public comments?
I think that could be a
That would
good
be-
place
that would
right
be
there.
fair.
I think that,
Opportunity.
so.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Borman?
Well, you said
Okay.
after the public comment, generally people leave after they give their comment. So I don't know if there's significant updates, maybe they can go first, but again, people tend to leave after they get whatever it is that they get.
We'll put them wherever the commission would like.
So
Yep.
before or after public comments, I think that's where we're kind of in that zone.
No, that was just Kimball.
I know.
Man,
Bringing that, I didn't trump you. I'm encouraging you for a chance.
understand what you said, man.
I was giving you a choice. I wasn't dictating anything. I was just throwing out what people have suggested, so whatever.
I'll piggyback on that, but I think if there's something on the agenda item that need to be spoken to, then I don't know if they need to be here or not, but if they don't have anything on the agenda item, then
Yeah, I'm not telling them to be excused after, but to give their report. Yeah, to give their report.
You can.
It costs too much to have them to maybe type some little talking points up or some highlights of their, what they want to say, and maybe have them available. And they can get up there and maybe hit some key points of what they want to say during the meeting and have them available for folks out there.
Is that feasible?
Sure.
That's okay.
But I want you
Commissioner
to
Jones.
present, doing it for.
That's what I'm saying, even at the first they can, but kind of highlight it so it won't prolong the beginning of the meeting as well. You get what I'm saying? They can come up there at wherever you would like them to be, the commission decides, but they can kind of like hit the highlights, the key points, but yet helps have more details readily available out there for them to grab.
Go ahead, Commissioner Borman.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback on that, because it could it come in the public comment time period, maybe right in that section right there, when they can just.
I think that was just the recommendation.
I think that's it.
Okay, well, let's just move on.
Yeah. I think anything we can do to streamline the meeting so that we don't lose participants and audience would be well appreciated by all of us.
Right, okay. So with that being said, I wanna thank y'all for the well wishes on my birthday, and I appreciate all of the comments and everybody who came out to the inauguration. Again, I thank you. Thank you guys for all your support. Congrats to Commissioner Campbell for his reelection. And again, we want to welcome Mayor Correa to the board, and thank you.
Thank you.
Your service. All right, there's three things that I have. On February 6th, I won't be here. I'll be Washington DC Fast Fly In. That's the Federal Action Strike Team. So I'll be there. So the meeting, I think Commissioner Campbell, I wanted on the 6th.
Well, why you ain't say nothing then?
I did, it went on my calendar. And so Sunny helped reminded me of it because it's not, it's not populated in the calendar. So when she brought that up, but if I could tune in maybe
Zoom.
virtually,
Are you okay with that? Because we know you like to be in the commission room. Are you okay with that?
I'm good. I mean, I could be virtual.
I mean, that was just something trying to get it, I'm open for change, but we can push the day
Yes.
back or.
Well, either way, if I can do virtual, I'll be fine, because I'll just tie in virtual. And if not, then if y'all want to move the date, then that's fine. I'm flexible. The other thing, we got Blue Crab. Blue Crab, we need to finalize on that and figure out what we need to do, whether we're not gonna do it or we're gonna, and so we need to do that in kind of Godspeed.
So we got one application. We went ahead and constituted the review committee today to go ahead and review the application primarily for the purpose of just making certain that we understand the application. Happy to forward the application to you so that you can be reviewing it yourself. And we'll do that. Sonny, if you don't mind, if you help me get that out tomorrow, the electronic version of it. And then it's going to really be, it won't be a matter of choosing between, it'll be a matter of whether you want to move forward with that application or with that particular recipient. She's called me a couple of times, but until we constitute the review committee, I didn't respond to her because of the concern that until if I was going to be on the review committee, it wasn't going to be, it might not have been appropriate for me to respond to her. I'm not going to be on the review committees. And so I will respond to her tomorrow and tell her that we'll be taking a look at it. I think it was first of the week. They're going to look at it and try to look at it for basically consistency with the RFP. And then we'll bring it to you. Bring it to you for your, for your decision. You look at the numbers that she's kind of proposed tomorrow. And you can be thinking about that before she comes in.
Just again, I want to thank all the departments for all of the phenomenal work they've been doing. And thank Chief Shaw for the work that they've done in the past with some of those community issues that used to come up in the past around the holidays. My understanding that everything was handled very professionally, and things got back under control in terms of bringing order back to the community, because I've had a number of calls on a number of those things. So thank you, Chief Shaw, for that. Jonathan, well, I commend you for your job well done, and looking forward to you continue to bring in more success to the city of Palatka. And we commend you for what you've been doing. Thanks, sir.
I want to piggyback off Commissioner Borum. I was out of state for the holidays, and I heard about the job well done with the police department around the holidays about handling the issue. So thank you, Chief Shaw. Congratulations, Jonathan, on your appointment. Thank you to the department heads and staff for all of your hard work that you're doing. Congratulations to my fellow commissioners again, and Madam Mayor, for the job well done tonight, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And happy birthday to you, Commissioner Borum, and enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your patience and tolerance of my first meeting tonight. Congratulations, Jonathan. Happy birthday, Rufus, and congratulations for your re-election, and Commissioner Campbell. And I appreciate everybody's welcoming, and I will get to different programs, different departments to speak and meet people, and work in progress. So again, thanks for your patience. And with that, Okay, that was unanimous. Adjourn.